to the Ping Pong Critics review of Legend of Korra, Book 4, Episode 3. I'm Daniel.
I'm Nick.
That was a beautiful sound, Nick. Thank you. I appreciate that. Alright. I just want to apologize that this episode's coming out a little late, or this review, I should say. We've been having problems getting together and getting this done. But it's here, and you should appreciate it. So.
Why don't you love us?
Let's get straight into it.
Yeah.
Following the greatness, that was episode 2, because episode 2 was probably one of the best episodes of the entire series so far. I felt that episode 3 had kind of a hard time holding its own.
I don't think so.
You think so?
One of the things that season 4 does well is that it knows when to focus on a story.
Yeah.
Like, the rest of the seasons always tried to just keep us in check with all of the characters, and there's a lot of characters to keep in check with.
Yeah. But
season 4 has been doing a good job of saying, no, you don't need to see these guys this week, just focus on this guy.
I agree with what you're saying, yeah.
So, in this episode, we focus on Mako and the...
Coronation, as titled.
Yeah.
Yeah. It goes back to the traditional Avatar storytelling between two storylines, switching back and forth. And the two storylines being the coronation, which is the main focus, and Toph and Korra trying to figure out what's up with her.
Right.
Those segments were pretty hilarious, though.
Toph's great.
Yeah, Toph is pretty great, and I'm happy. We raised some concerns in the episode 2 review about preserving her personality, like carrying that over from The Last Airbender, but then not have that be weird because she's aged quite a bit.
Yeah.
And you know what? I think it works pretty well.
Yeah, they kept her just kind of being a dick, but she's always knows when to be nicer, and it's great.
Yeah, well, since we're on it, we may as well focus on that part of the storyline. Like I said, I felt that her personality was done pretty well, especially that segment where Korra goes to hug her, but then she brings up the rock and says, hug a tree. I felt that was a good moment. Obviously, Korra gets absolutely obliterated by Toph.
Yes.
It was very creative and well animated, that fight scene. Especially, we were watching it together, and Toph barely moved. She's just like, sidestep, and then Korra gets...
That's always been Toph's fighting style.
Yeah, I guess so. It's very stand her ground, and...
only move when you have to move.
Yeah. And just in general, Korra's interaction with Toph was very organic, right?
Yeah.
It didn't feel forced or anything at all. And it was fun. It was very, it was good. And you can see that Korra's struggling with something.
Yeah.
We'll come back to that later, though.
Mako and the Emperor's storyline.
Yeah. Well, at this point, we can just agree that Prince Wu is an absolute idiot.
Yeah.
And oblivious, too.
They tried to give him some character development.
They did, when Mako had, an outburst.
And I don't know if I like it or not.
You don't like... Yeah, I'm not too sure if I'm a fan of his character. I'm not a fan of his character.
I'm not a fan of his character at all, but if they go through the rest of it right, then he might be able to change into something interesting, or maybe not. They could ruin it. They could. It could really go anywhere from here.
Yeah, I agree. You can just see from his interaction with Kuvira, he's like, oh, it's alright, you can probably talk to them to get a better room, and she's like, we've reserved the presidential suite, you get a junior suite. And in his reaction, and Kuvira's comment that she always gets what she wants, once again, she's a very menacing character. Sometimes not so justified, sometimes very justified. And I think they're trying to frame her up to be like the opposite of Korra, or rather just like Korra, except, with very different motivations and a very strong set of skills. But, yeah.
I have a particular set of skills.
I will find you, and I will kill you. Alright. We do get a little bit of insight into Sue's motivation and reason behind not helping the Earth Nation get back to order.
Yeah.
I felt that was very weak and kind of illogical, actually.
I like Bolin when he's talking to Mako, aside from that whole interaction being great. I like how he just parrots what Kulvira says, because he's not really sure about this thing, but he's trying to keep his motivation because he's loved what he's done so much, but he's just faltering.
Yeah, absolutely. And obviously that conversation leads to an amazing face meme by Mako. I'll attach a photo at this point of the review, and you can see it's pretty great. It's definitely intentional. We all know this. Yeah, and the coronation scene with, I mean, we all knew it was coming. It was no surprise with Rivera crushing the.
But the way she did it was really cool. Like she was just like, no.
Yeah, and she will crush all the people who are against us. It worked. It connected, and I felt that was the most important part. This is definitely a plot-heavy episode, right? It was trying to advance a lot of things along from where they were, and I think it did it pretty well, actually. Obviously, there were a lot of comedic moments that kind of worked really well, especially with Bolin, when he sees Eska.
Yeah, that's pretty weird.
Yeah, and his comment about seeing himself in the mirror and realizing it was just him. You remember that moment?
No.
Anyways, he was talking with Mako, and Mako's like, "You look all important." And he mentions how sometimes he sees himself in the mirror and he thinks he's in trouble, but he realizes it's just himself.
Yeah, that sounds Bolin.
Yeah. His humor in general has greatly improved since...
In Season 2, he was just a stupid fucking foil.
Yeah, absolutely.
And in Season 1, he was essentially nothing.
Well, he was important plot-wise, but...
Not really, even. He was just a team member.
Yeah, but he was likable. That's sort of the important thing there. Yeah, and obviously we come to the big reveal of the episode, which is that there are still metal in Korra's body, and Toph tries to get it out, but obviously Korra doesn't let her. And then I think Toph says something along the lines of, maybe you don't want to get it out, so you don't have an excuse to go back being the Avatar, right?
Yeah.
And that's... Because when she revealed that there were still metal in Korra's body, I was like, come on, like, we had such a great development in episode 2 about this being a mental problem for her, and now you're going to resort back to physical issue.
I agree.
But then, obviously, that happens, and I'm like, oh, thank God, and they handled it well,
Yeah.
Yeah, and it once again, there's always this, in Avatar, it's always about this balance. There's a physical and there's a psychological element to each issue, and that perfectly encapsulate that.
Right.
And finally, the episode ends with Varric working on the Spirit Vine, which we'll have to wait and see.
I think that's a good twist.
Yeah, it adds some fire to this book.
Yeah. And I just like the idea of it. I was like, Spirit Vines, what can you do?
Yeah, absolutely.
You can do a lot.
Apparently.
Yeah.
It was glowing purple like the Unalaq monster from book 2. Alright, so that's essentially the episode. We sort of talked about the writing and how it worked thematically, tonally.
Overall, I'd say it's a good episode. It does a lot of good things. There's some crap in it, like, I was cringing a lot at what Prince Wu was doing.
Yeah, I was too. Sometimes it felt a little forced, but we're going to have to wait and see where they go with that character. Yeah. Relative to the season as a whole, it's once again one of those episodes that advances the plot, but it does it pretty well.
Yeah.
So, let's score this.
And again, I just want to reiterate that Bolin's change in this episode, his faltering opinion, is really great.
Yeah, I agree too. And I'm sure that they're going to play that out in the future episodes. Alright. Let's score it. Once again, to remind, we rate movies out of 10, TV episodes out of 5, TV series out of 100, and games out of 100. So, Nick, is it Nick approved? Utter silence. Can I just say that although this episode could be considered to not be Nick approved, I felt that it's necessary to watch just as a season as a whole, as a TV show. But I don't think it's Nick approved. I mean, I don't want to offend you, Nick. Absolutely not. You are the supreme decision maker here. Just giving you my humble opinions.
I'm gonna say that it is Nick approved.
Oh man, but that's like a.
You don't know. No, it's not Nick approved.
Oh God, man, you tricked me there. Oh, what is this nightmare? Okay, all right. Well, I can get behind.
It's kind of a high standard. At least that one.
Yeah.
It has no standard right now.
It's just Nick, man. What can you expect? All right.
If you're watching the season, watch it, but don't expect this to be the greatest thing you've ever seen.
Unlike episode 2. And, yeah, episode 2 was just great. All right, let's score it, Nick.
8. No,
No,
7.5.
Out of 5, Nick.
Oh, shit.
Come on, abide by your own standards, Nick. You know what? While you think about it,
3.7.
3.7.
Yeah.
All right, I'm gonna give it a 3.5, and you heard my justifications earlier. All right. Once again, it was a good episode. It's just it's not as great as the other episodes relative, and I felt that it was necessary in order to
definitely
advance
necessary,
the
but
plot.
it's not something you can go into and say this is gonna be best. And I don't think any TV series can have constant episodes where it's just incredible.
Agreed. All right. Well, thank you for joining us, and take care. Take it easy, right? Yeah, absolutely.
Goodbye.